everybody, so today I'm super excited because I'm going to give you guys my second cooking video ever. And this time I'm going to show you how you can create traditional Norwegian gingerbread cookies, or pepperkaker, which we call it in Norway, and I love them and they're so much fun to make. So without any further ado, let's get started.
So for these cookies you will need the following ingredients: flour, butter, cinnamon, sugar, baking soda, ground cloves, ground ginger, 2 eggs, golden syrup, a scale, and some powdered sugar for decorating the cookies later on. The next thing you would want to do is measure out 250 grams of sugar, and you would also want to measure out 1 deciliter of golden syrup. I kind of failed with my syrup and I got dark instead of light, so I'm just going to half that, so I'm going to go with 1 deciliter instead of 2. The next thing you're going to do is just pour the sugar and the syrup into a pot on the stove, and we're going to come back to that later, but we're essentially just going to heat it up. So before we start melting the sugar and syrup, we're going to put 250 grams of butter into a bowl. I didn't have any solid butter in my fridge, so I used the liquid kind, and you definitely should not use the liquid kind, guys, as it resulted in me kind of failing midway through this baking thing. But I kind of fixed it, so no worries, and you will see it very soon. As you already would have seen, I have now put my oven on 4, which means that it has a heat of medium to low, and we're going to heat up the sugar and syrup until it's all completely melted. When bubbles are slowly starting to form in the sugar syrup mix, I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, half a tablespoon of ground ginger, and half a tablespoon of ground cloves. And obviously after we have added these spices, we're going to stir until it's all truly combined into the sugar syrup mix. Then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of baking soda, and it's super important that you stir right away, and you will find that the color will lighten a lot, and it will also start to become super fluffy and rise a little bit as well. We are now going to add this hot sugar syrup mixture into the butter, and here is where my fail is going to show, because you're going to pour this on top of solid butter because it will slowly melt and it will be easier to kind of combine the 2 different types of ingredients. But because I used liquid butter, that just didn't happen, and I tried adding my eggs and it helped a little bit, but it just wouldn't combine at all, and it looked gross. So the only way to kind of fix this problem is to put it back on the stove on a low heat and then slowly heat it up while stirring all the time. So the reason why it didn't combine was that the sugar solidified, so when you put it on top of the stove again, it will kind of melt and it will eventually become blended into each other. So just do that if you mess up like I did. Next up, we're going to pour the liquid into the bowl again, and we're slowly going to add a little bit of flour at a time, and you would want to use like between 400 and 650 grams of flour, but you're just going to combine this slowly in until it has a doughy consistency. When you're happy with the consistency of your dough, you're going to pour it into a Ziploc bag or cling film, and you're going to wrap it up tightly and put it into the fridge to cool, either for a couple of hours or overnight. The next step in this recipe is to preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius, and then you're just going to take your dough out of the Ziploc bag or cling film, and you're going to start rolling it out on a clean surface that you have slightly covered with a little bit of flour so that the dough doesn't stick to the surface. Then it's time to whip out the cookie cutters, and I'm just going to use this Christmas tree and heart one, and this little man and the angel. Yeah, just because it's super Christmassy. And then I'm just going to start cutting out my cookies from the dough that I just rolled out. When I have cut out all of the cookies from my dough, I'm going to transfer them over to a baking tray that is lined with a baking sheet, or what you call it. This will just prevent that the cookie doesn't burn in the oven. And speaking about oven, it's now time to put them inside, and we're going to cook the cookies for 5 to 7 minutes. And when the cookies come out of the oven, you obviously need to let them cool completely before you reach the next step. But when we do reach the next step, you're going to take powdered sugar and a tiny bit of water and kind of mix it all together until you get a very nice thick glaze. And when you have reached the right consistency, you're going to put a Ziplocker bag into a mug, and then you're going to pour the glaze into the Ziplocker bag. Afterwards, you're going to twist it tightly and snip off the tip of this corner of the Ziplocker bag, and voila, you have just created your very own piping bag. We are now ready for the funniest step when it comes to baking, which is decorating. And you're going to take your piping bag and you're going to let your creativity roam freely. And as you can see, I'm really bad at decorating my cookies, but you know what, that doesn't matter, because the only thing that matters is that you are having fun with baking and having fun with what you're doing. So this is obviously the last step decorating wise. The next step is obviously eating them, and I have done that and they tasted absolutely delicious. And here you have the finished, decorated and super yummy Norwegian gingerbread cookies.
So that was actually the end of this week's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you decide to make these gingerbread cookies at home, please post a picture on Instagram or Twitter using the hashtag Christmas caroling. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. I will see you guys next week. Bye!